Welcome in everybody to the Single Digit Bodyfat Series. I'm your host, Mark Smelly Bell. I am super fired up about this series because I'm going to be going over keto, carnivore, fasting, and a bunch of different ways for you to get shredded. It's going to be super helpful for me, for you guys to watch every single episode and to make comments. I need your help. I need your support. I need to know what you want to hear more about. Do you want to hear about some drugs? Do you want to hear about some peptides, or do you want to hear more about the diet? To me, the diet has always been the main thing, because whether you're Chris Bumstead or you're anybody else, you still have to adhere to a very strict diet. When Bumstead is getting ready for the Olympia, he has to adhere to his diet more than ever. And a lot of those guys are running a lot of gear going into those competitions, but they still don't get away without following the rules of being on a particular diet. I cannot wait to teach you guys all the things I've learned over the years to go from 330 pounds to now being under 215 pounds and being probably about 8% body fat. I'll be taking you along on a lot of different rides, showing you stuff about light exposure, dark, cold, all kinds of different shit. We're going to get into all of it. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness never in strength. Enjoy the videos. Catch you guys later. Welcome to the Single Digit Body Fat Series. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength.
Figure out a way to just be less fat. And you know what that means.
What in the will happen if I go all in on this? Today I'm going to tell you how to get ridiculously shredded. Hello everybody, and welcome to my new series. Get yourselves comfortable, because this is the Single Digit Body Fat Series, aka the Be Less Fat Series, for those of you that are maybe catastrophically out of range to be single digit body fat. But for those of you listening, all you really need to know is the information I'm going to share is going to be a lot of information to help rid you of body fat. I have years and years of experience of taking off my own body fat, pulling off my own body fat, and getting leaner over many, many years. Used to be 330 pounds, and now, I think this morning, I was 212 pounds. So I've shed a lot of weight, and not only that, I've kept the weight off. I also have held on to like a decent amount of muscle mass to where I feel good, I feel strong. I can do things today that I couldn't do years and years ago. I could do things today, now at 47 years old, that at 35 years old, at 32 years old, I wouldn't have been able to do it all, because nowadays I can run a marathon, I can run sprints, I could do jumps, I could do all kinds of stuff. I feel amazing. There's a few areas that I need to work on. One is my mobility, and that's something that I'll be tackling and working on. But for today, we are talking about getting ripped, getting shredded to the socks, as they say. One thing I want to address before this video goes viral is I want to say I am Mark Bell, and I am on anabolic steroids. And I've been on them for a really long time. And I mentioned the movie Bigger, Stronger, Faster that played around the country in the movie theater, not just some streaming bullshit video. It was actually in the movie theater. And I talked about my usage of performance-enhancing drugs. And I made the statement of, I love steroids.
I think I'll probably be on and off them probably forever.
And here we are. I just like to mention that because I do think it's something that's always lingering in the back of everyone's head. And if I'm being honest, steroids can make the process a lot easier. However, we can argue back and forth about what steroids really do, but I want you to keep this in mind. The best bodybuilders in the world, they might take a lot of drugs, but you know what they also do? They train their ass off and they diet really hard. They actually have to have a diet that is insanely regimented. And you're thinking like, oh, I didn't really realize that, because I thought that steroids kind of cut down the level of effort that you need. And that couldn't be any further from the truth. Chris Bumstead and any of these other legends that are stepping on stage that are getting insanely shredded, they have a routine with their nutrition that is out of this world. I have heard, it's been speculated, that Chris Bumstead has like 1,250 calories for like a couple weeks towards the end of his prep. I've heard some people say 6 weeks. I've heard other people say 3 weeks. But you know what's really interesting is what I'm about to say next. And this is going to shock you. And this is going to be something that you probably have not heard of because other than myself and Ted Naiman, it just doesn't get talked about. It's a secret. And it's time to let the secret out of the bag. It is very common for almost every single bodybuilder that you see on stage that gets just peeled, and every single female competitor as well, for them to do this one thing, to have 30 to 40% of their caloric intake come from protein. It comes from protein, bro. That's where it's coming from. Protein is not a great energy source for the body, or maybe it is a cool energy source for the body, but maybe it gets utilized for construction a little bit more than energy output. Maybe it is something that gets devoted to helping build muscle, helping keep the muscle mass that you have on. Maybe it's something that just helps to stimulate protein muscle synthesis, right? Then we have carbohydrates and fats. And what are the roles of carbohydrates and fats? It's important to have carbohydrates so we can have a good output with our workouts. It's also important to have good fats to make sure we have good output and make sure we have good workouts and make sure we're able to walk and go out on a run and do all these different things. It's important to have those energy sources because without them, you're primarily just trying to run off of protein, and that is not a great or healthy diet. But remember what I said in the beginning, this is not about health. What we're on a mission to do is eliminate body fat, try to reduce body fat. And some of the things I'm going to mention, I want you to keep in mind, I always have in the front of my mind, not in the back of my mind, but in the front of my mind, health as being a really integral part of all this, because if you hurt yourself or if you mess up your hormones too much, you're going to be really screwed up. But please bear with me and understand the recommendations that I have are for you to utilize strategically for yourself, appropriately for yourself. So for myself, I may have gotten used to some of these protocols. For you, you might not be that used to it, and it might be that you just utilize some of these techniques and some of these methods for a meal or two, or for a day or two, or you use it to get out in front and to protein leverage. But when I started to understand and started to really focus in on, wow, 30 to 40% of calories are coming from protein from all these people that are this lean and this shredded. And they have, the serratus muscles, and they got, striated quads, and they got all these crazy muscles, striations in the triceps and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I want to walk around like that. I literally want to walk around like that all the time. Now I realize that there may be an end game to this process that I've been working on. I do not know what my body fat percentages are at the moment, but if they were over 8, I would drive off a cliff. I would be surprised if they're over 8. Hopefully they're under that, but whatever the case is, I'm much leaner today than I was yesterday, and I'm much leaner today than I was years ago, for sure. And in order to continue that process going, I had to start to think of ways to, get a little craftier with it. So the mission started when I was 330 pounds. I dropped weight very easily with a paleo diet. Because, first of all, you got to keep this in mind. All diets work when they're followed correctly. It's just like, how long are they going to work, and what's the definition of work? Because you hear people oftentimes say, I tried that diet and it didn't work. But then if you rewind a little bit and you actually listen to what they said, I did that diet for 3 months, and when I came off it, I gained all the weight back. You're like, you were on a diet because you were fat and you had these bad disciplines, and you lost a bunch of weight, and then you gained the weight back because you went back to the way you used to be. You're like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. So we do need things to be sustainable. But what I'm talking about with protein leveraging is sustainable. It is easy. It is something that you can do and you can implement. Maybe in the beginning, you won't be able to implement it the same way that I do, because I'm utilizing these strategies every single day at the moment, day in and day out, for weeks and maybe even months on end. We'll see how long I can keep this going for. But for now, I feel awesome. I still have all the energy I need for my running. I still have all the energy I need for my lifts. I feel absolutely spectacular. Here's something that you need to know that you also may find to be shocking. When we reduce carbohydrates, we end up burning fat for fuel. But the fat that we're burning is our dietary fat. So how do we get our body to burn body fat? Well, there is a simple equation, and you guys know the answer to this. You know, if you just lower your calories, that you can end up, you're now in a caloric deficit, and that can assist you with burning body fat. And I agree. That's definitely true. There's definitely some science and some math and some research and all kinds of stuff to back a lot of that stuff up. However, you might not know this. What happens if we lower our carbs, but we also lower our fats? Now we're going to be able to burn body fat, because the body, you're not taking in carbohydrates as energy. You're not taking in any fats as energy. The protein, this is not the way it works exactly, and hopefully some other people can explain this more in depth. If some of this gets clipped, I actually think that would be good. For Lane Norton or Dr. Mike Israetel or Coach Greg, any of those guys to clip this and have conjectures towards some of the stuff that I'm sharing. But it's been my experience, and I've seen it with people that I help. I've helped many people who are hundreds and hundreds of pounds overweight lose weight through this style of eating. And it takes time and it takes patience. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. But the way that we do it is we start to get rid of a lot of carbohydrates, and we also start to get rid of a lot of fats. If I had to place an order of importance there, I would actually say the fats are trickier bitches to get rid of than carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, those suckers are kind of all over the place, but you would be surprised at how much fat is in everything almost all the time. Even something like a protein bar. A lot of protein bars on the market, especially the peanut butter-based ones, you're looking at an immediate 12 to 14 grams of fat. And you want to know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with eating 12 to 14 grams of fat. However, it's probably not going to fit into this style of diet because you're consuming a lot of fat per your satiation. And this is something that Ted Naiman talks about a lot. And if you want to try to figure this out a little easier, you want to start to think about some foods that would be green lighted and some foods that would get a thumbs up. For every approximate 10 grams of protein, you want it to be approximately like 100 calories or so. Something in that neighborhood. The way that I like to look at it, which is easier for me to understand, because I don't like to mess around with percentages and all that stuff too much, but an easier way for me to sort through some of this is for every 25 grams of protein, there would be about 5 grams of fat. For every 50 grams of protein, there would be approximately 10 grams of fat. Now, if we could have that slanted even more, then we even have a stronger advantage. I do talk a lot about putting up points on the scoreboard. And you can look at this as like points on the scoreboard. You're building points for the day. I know Weight Watchers uses points. And you know what counts as 0 points in Weight Watchers? Protein. Straight up protein gets a 0, or at least it used to. I don't know if they still do that. And vegetables as well. And what does that mean? That just means you get the green light to eat as much of it as you want. But here's a little bit of the complicated and the annoying part is that protein very rarely in nature comes by itself. It comes accompanied by fats, right? Think about it. All the things that you love to eat, you love your steak, you love your fish, you love this, you love that. There are some white fish, there are some shellfish that are extremely low in fat. Obviously, there's things like chicken breast, but a chicken breast is not normal because a chicken breast, we're getting rid of the skin, right? Boneless, skinless chicken breast that you buy at the store. So there needs to be a little human intervention in order to make some of these hyper-protein foods. And we're trying to go like a different direction than hyper-palatable. We're trying to go hyper-protein, trying to really crank that protein up. Remember, when we eat more protein, over time, it should help reduce hunger and help build some satiety. One of the problems with protein, though, is it doesn't really give you much satisfaction. The other problem with not consuming a lot of fat is fat slows down digestion. It allows that food to be digested much slower, which could help make you feel fuller for longer. That's why sometimes some people will say, I have 2-3 eggs in the morning and I'm good until 2 p.m. or something like that. That's actually a really good and healthy practice. But the things I'm recommending here are going to be different than that. I'm not going to recommend 3 eggs. I would rather see you do this. Have 2 eggs and then fill in the rest with egg whites. So we get a large volume, and then maybe even throw some vegetables in there. Throw some peppers, onions, whatever some other things are that you like that are just going to be filling, but maybe they're not super satiating. They're not super satisfying, but you like them enough. Things that I do is sometimes I pour pico de gallo or salsa. I'll throw that on top of some of my meals because some of these things are going to be dry. They're going to be bland. because they don't have fat in them. They don't have carbs. And let's face it, fat and carbs is the money. Fat and carbs is where the flavor and the pop really exists. Think about your favorite foods, and you'll actually start to quickly realize that they're barely food. They are highly processed, man-made foods, such as pizza and ice cream and donuts and French fries and so on, right? We don't really get that in nature. It's very, very rare. And I know that when some people talk about ancestral living, sometimes people hate it, some people love it. There's a lot of debate. We don't know exactly how our ancestors ate, and they were eating for survival. And so sometimes you're just like, I don't really even care how they ate. It is supposed, though, that the animals that they did eat were large and that they did have a lot of fat. And so they were eating, large amounts of protein and fat, and carbohydrates were probably things that maybe weren't as readily available until people started making like bread and pasta, until we started making a bunch of other things. And there is debate about whether or not, eating a combination of carbohydrates and fats together, whether that's detrimental. It's called the Randall cycle.
The Randall cycle, ostensibly, boiled down to its most simple way of describing it, is that of fats and carbohydrates, your body will be running on one or the other primarily based on what is being provided. Your body will set up its enzymes, its pathways optimally for the predominant intake. So if you eat a bunch of carbohydrates, you are not going to be efficient at using fats. If you're running on fats, not only are you not efficient in carbohydrates, they're locked out completely.
And you can actually look it up. Thomas DeLauer talks about it quite a bit.
I want you to imagine that your cells have become so used to using one kind of fuel that they actually forget how to use another kind.
I don't think the Randall cycle or any of those things are really all that relevant. I like to just look at it from the other direction of like, who cares? Okay, that's a great way to get fat. But let's just eliminate. I don't need that knowledge of how to get fat. I want to learn how to get lean. And when you want to learn how to get lean, you go opposite of carbs and fats, and you just go straight in. You just go straight in. You dive right into the protein. People may have questions or concern about kidneys and so on. This is not a diet that you're going to be doing forever. This is a diet to help really pull off a lot of body fat, and these are strategies. And this is something that you could use for 3 days in a row and then have kind of like a normal day. Not a day off, not a day for you to go back to shitty habits, but a more normal day where you're not as concerned, you're not calculated, you're not paying as much attention to the fats in your foods. Let me explain some of the foods that I like to eat and some of the ways that I get through each and every day doing this. I think one of the most valuable things that you can do every day is to occupy your mind, occupy your day. Have a day that's full. For people that have a 9-to-5 job or jobs that are even longer than that, they work, 12-hour, 16-hour shifts sometimes. They don't have to think about it that much because it's like, okay, my day is pretty full of a lot of stuff. But for some other people, you're going to want to try to schedule things. You're going to want to try to schedule when you walk, when you jog, when you lift, and so on, so that you actually have these, I guess, like areas or these points in your day where you're not eating. It's almost like built-in fasting, because I doubt you're going to be on a run and that you're actually going to be like eating on the run, or that you're going to be in the middle of a workout and you're going to be eating. Although I've done that before. I don't know if you guys ever saw me eating Doritos in between every set of speed bench one time, but that was disastrous. And that was disgusting. Everything got all orange and it was really gross. I've also eaten donuts during workouts, and I've had whiskey during workouts and all kinds of weird stuff over the years. But most normal people are not really consuming calories while they're exercising. And so you can take advantage of those times. You can take advantage of, okay, I'm at work for 8 hours. I usually break for lunch and I usually have a snack. And so you mainly only eat twice at work. Maybe some of you eat a little bit more than just those 2 times, but you basically know where you're going to be and you know what your options are in terms of what you can bring or what you can get to. And this is where I think a lot of people really suffer, is they're like, oh no, man, my job's chaotic. It's crazy. My boss, he doesn't want to even see me with an apple or whatever. And if your boss doesn't care about your health, I mean, that just sucks. That's a shitty situation. But you should be able to find and be able to manage some things with getting in some of the foods I'm going to mention here. One of the best ways to protein leverage, in my opinion, is through the usage of yogurt. Yogurt and cottage cheese. I think yogurt specifically, fermented yogurt, is something that can be great for our gut microbiome. There's still so much more research that needs to be done on the gut microbiome. The experts and all the people that say that they know that it works this way and that way, I don't think we have all the answers yet. But it does appear that by eating some vegetables and by eating some fermented foods, that not only could it be healthy and have some really good potential at feeding our gut bacteria, which can in turn help with our own hunger signals, but additionally, it can also just help with healthy digestion in general, having that, gut diversity. I'm a believer in that. I think it's good to have some veggies. It's good to have some fruit along with your meats and along with your dairies. It's good for your body to be able to handle all of those things. And on that same note, the digestion of protein is a skill set, and it's something that needs to be built towards. So if you're watching this video and you're like, man, he's talking so heavy about protein, and I'm going to advise for you to have 1 gram or even more per pound of body weight when it comes to protein. So if you weigh 200, you'll have 200 grams of protein. If you weigh 300, you'll have 300 grams of protein, and so on. And other people have different recommendations and so on. But being able to digest protein properly is a skill set. And just like any other skill set, it takes time to acquire it. So if you start trying some of the methods I'm sharing here today, and you're like, oh my God, my stomach, and you're just gassy and you're on the toilet, a bunch of stuff, that's not necessarily because of protein. It's because your body at this moment is not ready to digest that amount of protein. So please, for some of the recommendations that I give, just take little steps towards it and don't take a big leap in right away. Some of the foods that I eat, I did mention yogurt, Oikos 000 yogurt, but you can kind of buy your favorite yogurt and mix in whatever you want. But Oikos yogurt has very low carbohydrate. It has 0 grams of fat. And the ones that I buy have 15 grams of protein. There are other ones they make are called like Oikos Pro or something like that. Those have 23 grams of protein. I think they're accompanied by about 3 fat. And it has a little creamier taste, has a little different texture. So you may prefer that one, and that one still gets a thumbs up because of the ratio. What I also do to bump the protein up even more is I dump in This Is The Way vanilla protein. By the way, if you've never tried This Is The Way protein, you should try it. It's absolutely amazing. Our vanilla, I think, is one of the best proteins on the market, one of the best tasting. So go over to withinyoubrand.com and pick up some This Is The Way vanilla protein. And then while you're at it, you might as well try some Total Carnivore, and you might as well try a Steak Shake, because those are phenomenal and legendary and amazing as well. So I usually mix those two things together, the vanilla Oikos yogurt with a scoop of vanilla This Is The Way protein. Sometimes I'll dump some cottage cheese in there, and what that does is it kind of mutes that tangy sort of sting, like bite type thing that yogurt has that some of you may not like. Some of you may enjoy that and might not have to throw in cottage cheese, but the cottage cheese is really just adding more protein to it as well. And now we're getting a different blend of proteins too. The yogurt is triple filtered, and so it probably has, because it's a dairy product, it has some whey in it. The cottage cheese has a base of whey, and I'm sure it has casein in there as well. So it ends up being a really amazing mixture. And in terms of amino acids, it's like an amino acid party going on. I love the flavor. I love the taste. I can go vanilla on that, or I can go chocolate. I also will dump in Steak Shake, which only has a little bit of fat. I think there's about 3 grams of fat per scoop with the Steak Shake, around 25 grams of protein. And I'll mix that in. I'll also sometimes throw in like a chocolate hydration packet, and now we just made it even more chocolatey. Sometimes we'll take that sucker and I will throw it in my freezer. And now it becomes like this pudding / ice cream / yogurt thing. I'll even sometimes take all that, I'll blend it, I'll put it into the Ninja Creamy little freezer bucket, stick it in my freezer, pull it out, turn that son of a bitch into ice cream. And now I have a protein leveraging ice cream, because some of the ice creams I've made have 100 or 125 grams of protein in them and have maybe as little as 8 to like 12 grams of fat or something like that. You guys know I'm sponsored by Piedmontese. Certified Piedmontese steaks are the best on the planet, and it's a way to eat steak but have your body think that it's eating chicken because the steaks are so lean. I have a lot of the filet mignon from Piedmontese as well as the bavette steaks, and they're very low and very modest with the amount of fats that are in there. In the filet, I want to say it's next to like zero fat. It's like almost leaner than chicken, and they're grass-fed, grass-finished, and there's a lot of other types of steaks on there. And people will look at it, and the prices are expensive. You can use my code MarkBell and get 20% off and get free shipping as well. Certified Piedmontese is just such a great brand. Regenerative agriculture, and it's grass-fed, grass-finished. I also love the 93% lean ground beef that they have. I sometimes will mix that with turkey and just have it be something that that just gets a little bit more volume out of. And I'll mix that with like marinara sauce. You guys have seen me do that on Smelly's Kitchen many, many times over. Absolutely amazing. And so some of the other foods that I'll eat, I'll go through these a little bit quicker because they're a little easier to describe. Chicken breast, you guys know about chicken breast. Turkey, you can buy the 93 or the 99. You could take the 93 and the 99 and mix them together, and then you end up with a percentage of fat that is going to be manageable and edible, because the 99 turkey is just tough. When it comes to egg whites, people are like, why would anyone eat egg whites? I don't understand egg whites. Again, we're not talking about just health. We're talking about getting shredded. What do bodybuilders eat? Bodybuilders eat a lot of egg whites. It's because egg whites have a ton of value because they have a lot of protein. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get in a crazy amount of protein with the least amount of calories as possible. And then we're also trying to do so within reason, because what I want you guys to pay attention to is I don't want day in and day out for you to be under 60 grams of fat. That's okay to do here and there, and that's okay to do if you're trying to do it for 2 weeks or something like that, or just a short stint. 50 to 60 grams of fat is like where things can get sketchy. And what I mean by sketchy is you can be really driving down your hormones, your sex hormones. For a lot of you guys out there, especially some of you guys that aren't married yet, you're single, you could have erectile dysfunction, which could be absolutely disastrous. And I would hate to see that happen to people, but at least you know going in what some of the consequences could be. And I know there's some people just thinking, hey, bro, why don't you just slow down with your fat loss? Why don't you just take your time and, count your calories and just have it be a slower process? I think it's good to lean into the extremes, and it's good to learn for yourself what feels best for you. For me, for right now, this is what's feeling best for me. I talked a lot in the past about fasting, and I still utilize fasting. I actually just did a 24-hour fast yesterday, and I have more fasts coming up because I'll be traveling to Europe with my wife to celebrate our 24th wedding anniversary. To sort of prep for that, so I'm not, paying as much attention to the food that I'm eating, and I'm just enjoying it, and I'm enjoying my time with my wife, I'm going to be calculated about what I do here and the things that I have control over right now. So I'm like, all right, a couple extra walks. All right, insert a couple extra fasts before I go and do all that travel. But what you guys will find is that you may have tried a lot of other diets, you may have tried a lot of other things, but when you learn protein leveraging and you learn to primarily just eat protein, and protein is the focus of all your meals all the time. It's the focus of everything that I do every single day. I don't eat anything unless it has protein in it. There's some small exceptions. After a run, sometimes I will go to the grocery store and I'll just mow down a bunch of watermelon, or I'll mow down a bunch of mango. So there are cases, here and there, where I'm just shoveling in other nutrients other than protein. But even when I get home, I'm still going to have a protein leveraged meal. And here's an interesting way to look at all this, because I want to make sure I'm not promoting a zero fat diet to any of you. I hope you guys understand that that's not what we're working on. We're not trying to have a zero fat diet. We're trying to have a low to modest fat diet with the protein cranked. Again, why are we doing that? It's because when we remove carbohydrates, you will burn dietary fat. And when we remove dietary fat and carbohydrates, you will be burning body fat. And it'll be coming off fast. Talk to any of your friends that ever competed in fitness, figure, they've gotten on stage for something, or did a photo shoot, and they will tell you this is the way they did it, because everyone does it the same way. There's basically not one person who does it differently, other than my homie Keto Brick, who utilizes the ketogenic diet, but he'll even play with the fats, and he'll even plummet them down to get super shredded, because this is the way the body works. Who knows why it works this way? I do want to say that for a lot of people that have never been to these lower body fat percentages, if these body fat percentages are a pretty big stretch for you, 7% body fat, 6% body fat, that the further away it is for you and the more sort of unnatural it is for you to get to that body fat level, probably the more detrimental or dangerous it is for you to like try to get there and stay there so aggressively. That's something to kind of keep in mind. And I don't want to make anyone fat phobic. I don't want to give anybody a heart attack over the different types of foods they're eating and how precise. For me, I don't necessarily track anything. I do track some stuff with my eyeballs. I do pay attention to it. The only thing that I measure is my body. I weigh myself every day. I look at myself in the mirror every day. I even have what I call a back fat mirror. So I have a regular mirror in front of me, and I have a mirror that's on wheels that's behind me, and I get to see everything. Get to see the butt, get to see the hamstrings, get to see the calves. It's amazing to be able to see your whole body like that, and you turn to the side and you can see your body from the sides. You could probably see yourself more in a view that other people, in a way that other people would be able to see you. And I realize, there's probably some people right now going, oh my God, sounds like Mark has like this crazy disorder and this dysmorphia with his body. And maybe I do. I find this to be a challenge. I find this to be fun. This is like liberating for me. This makes me feel good. I feel strong. I feel powerful. I feel fast. And I'm feeling better every single day. So whatever it may or may not be in terms of like a disorder or whatever, I'm not really concerned with that because it is something that continues to move me forward, help make me feel good. And I'm here to help a lot of people. That is the mission. That is why I make so many of these videos. And I know sometimes when I mention money, sometimes people get turned off by it, but I am a multimillionaire several times over. I don't need to shoot videos. I don't need to continue to promote my products. They sell on their own. I have a warehouse full of stuff that just is flying out the doors all the time. You guys know that when you purchase the steak shakes, a lot of times they're not available because we're flying right through them because it's a popular item, because I got very fortunate and made a very good product and have awesome, devoted fans that are fired up. But I'm doing this to share information with you because I think this information is critical, and I don't think anyone delivers it to you quite in the same way. I don't think you really had anyone tell you that bodybuilders are using this 30 to 40% protein method. Maybe you have. Maybe for some of you heard of this before. But I know that people know about the low carb deal. I know that people know that it's very common for people to, that bodybuild and people that are doing aesthetic sports or whatever you want to call them, that they will reduce their carbs. But you don't hear that much talk about the fats. And the fats are really important because we have so many people nowadays that have switched over to a carnivore diet, a keto diet. I love these diets. I think they're great. I still do these diets. I will do these diets for the rest of my life. Intermittently, occasionally, I will, follow a protocol where my fat calories are way higher than my protein and so on. But because I like to move stuff around, I'm a big fan of utilizing many different styles of diet. But one of the best things a keto practitioner who wants to be in better shape could do is drop out a lot of the fats. How much fat? I don't know. Just try it for yourself. Try 30 grams for, try getting rid of 30 grams of fat a day for the next couple weeks, or just simply change over your 80% ground beef and only start buying 85 or 90% and start making some little changes here and there. And again, this is not going to be something that's going to work forever. All diets work, but I don't think any diet works forever. There's usually like an end game with it, unless you're talking about more of a general nutrition protocol that's like just really basic. If I just said, hey, eat as much natural food as you can, have that be 95% of your diet, you could do that forever, and you could probably see progress for a long time. But again, I'm not talking about that kind of shit. I'm talking about getting shredded to the point where you should be seeing significant changes every other day or so, once you get in rhythm with it. If you're not seeing the changes, then you're eating too much fat in this protocol that I'm talking about. I'm talking about reducing your carbohydrates, probably keeping them under 100, and plummeting down your fat calories, keeping them under 60 grams per day. You give this a shot for a while, and you do it with some of the foods that I recommended, and you're going to see outstanding, crazy results. Again, I do want to caution you that if you're 3 days in or 5 days in and you don't feel good, bring those fats back up a little bit. Actually, first, erase that for a second. I would actually just bring up your carbs a little bit. See if the carbs make you feel a little bit better. Bring your carbs up to 150 or bring your carbs up to 200, especially for those of you that have adapted and eaten a lot of carbohydrates most of your life. Jack those carbs back up a little bit. See if that makes you feel better. If that starts to make you feel better, then you don't have to really worry about the fats. But you want to keep those fats really low. I mentioned yogurt, chicken breast, turkey, cottage cheese, Piedmontese steaks, protein shakes. I don't think protein bars are a great idea. Having a couple here or there, not a bad idea for flavor. I do like tasty pastries from Legendary Foods. I do like, they got the Pop-Tarts and they got the sticky bun type of thing. Those options are really good. Those are like tested, and I've been to their facility before. Those are from Ron Penna. You can use my code Mark Bell on their website as well. I think it gives you like 10% off. Absolutely amazing products. Sometimes when I allow or recommend something to somebody, then they go ham on it and eat way too many of them, because even those Pop-Tarts and those pastries and stuff, they're going to have 7 grams of fat, and they're not always worth it. Sometimes they're worth it because sometimes it just hits the craving just right. I sometimes will have those with a protein shake on certain days, but I do not recommend eating those every day. I don't recommend making any of those things a staple of your diet. You want to stick to foods as much as you can. Now we get into fish. I'm a huge fan of canned fish. Oysters are absolutely amazing. You can get oysters that are in water. Obviously, you can get them in olive oil as well, but we're talking about really trying to plummet your fats. In this case, I would say either drain the olive oil off if you're going to try oysters, or buy oysters that are in water. Something I've been really into most recently is ceviche. I don't know if you guys have had ceviche, but absolutely amazing. It's raw shrimp that is put into lime juice. You put it in lime juice for half an hour, maybe an hour. Some people like to leave it in for much longer. And then you just kind of mix in whatever you want from there. And some people might be losing their mind and might say, it's not ceviche. I'm not trying to give you like a specific ceviche like protocol. All I'm trying to do is give you a nutritious, high-end, amazing tasting, protein leveraging meal. And that is ceviche. I mean, look it up. You're going to have about 1.5 grams of fat, probably accompanied by 40 or 50 grams of protein. Canned fish, by the way, is wild caught here in the United States. It's the law, so they're supposed to be wild caught. Wild Planet has some really amazing seafood products. That's the one that I recommend. I really like the pink salmon. Is amazing because it only has like 4 grams of fat and like 25 protein or something like that. And all the fat in it is EPA, DHA. And we know that fats are important. We know that they're critical, especially to our hormones. I'm trying to think of some other stuff that I eat. Any types of fish are going to be great. You do have things like mackerel and salmon where the fat calories are going to be pretty high. If that is, your main source of fat for the day, then have at it, because again, I'm not promoting that you eat 0 grams of fat. Other things that I eat fruit, all kinds of fruit. Not a huge banana fan. I know a lot of people throw bananas in their shakes and stuff, but I don't eat a lot of bananas, but I do love apples. I love oranges. The particulars on the fruit, I don't think it matters. It's just like, you pick what you like and I'll pick what I like. I do, however, think they have an advantage when you're eating berries, because berries are like fibery and watery and they're not really calorically dense. Watermelon has a tremendous amount of volume, and so you can just eat water. You can eat a lot of watermelon and not get a lot of calories. I also love the benefit of getting some of the sugar from some of these products, some of these fruits and stuff like that. Honey might be something you might want to use here and there. Sometimes I mix the honey in my yogurt. If I make like a fruit bowl, again, I'll take the vanilla Oikos yogurt, mix this is the whey protein in there, throw some berries in there, throw some honey in there. Sometimes I'll even add some allulose from a company called RX Sugar. And the reason why I add that in there is because allulose has an advantage of being something that can help drive down your blood sugar a little bit when you're eating meals that have some sugar in it. So kind of an interesting component to that type of sweetener. In terms of other foods, just living off of steak shakes and my own supplements, basically. I think that pretty much rounds it out. I will eat some beef jerky. There's a beef jerky that's called People's Choice. They have flavored ones as well as like a plain one. And I will order those because 2.5 grams of fat and they have like 10 to 12 grams of protein. So that fits the diet really well. And I will get those. And they're actually kind of sort of hard to chew. And I actually like that because it takes a little while to eat. So I will utilize those when I travel. I also will eat carnivore crisps. But when it comes to carnivore crisps, you may want to be a little conscious of the types that you order, because there are things like chicken breast, top sirloin, eye of round, and maybe a couple others that are pretty high in protein and modest to low in fat. And then you have things like brisket and ribeye, which are delicious and amazing. You definitely want to check out what they have going on at Carnivore Crisp. Outstanding products, grass-fed, grass-finished, only 2 ingredients. It's meat and it's salt, and I love them. They're absolutely amazing, but I do think that you should, pay attention to those fat calories. That's another great product. And again, you can use my code MarkBell. I think you get 20% off. You could go to their website and check some of that out. So that concludes our first ever single digit body fat video. And we're going to be doing more. I'll be talking a lot about fasting. I'll be talking a lot about not eating. It's going to be super exciting. You guys are going to love it. And we're just going to continue to fat shame the hell out of you so that you continue to get leaner and leaner and to continue to get more shredded. The last point I want to drive home. I'm not sitting here trying to promote health. I'm not saying that this is the healthiest, smartest thing ever to do. But what I am saying is that this can pull off tremendous amounts of body fat off of you in what I think is a convenient and safe way. I don't think I mentioned this, but when you eat this way, you can eat all day long. That's pretty amazing, I think. You can literally eat all day long. And when you start to eat all day long, you can start to track your body weight and start to see, okay, maybe I can't eat all day long. Maybe I need to pull back a little bit on how much I eat, because that will have an impact at some point. But it's almost limitless, because the protein, again, it's really not a great energy source. It's not anything that's, in my opinion, going to lead to excessive amounts of body fat. And you're eating like fruits, and there's only so much of these things that you can eat. So anyway, you can eat until you're full, eat until you're satiated, eat until you're satisfied. Give this diet a chance, give this diet a try. In the comments below, I want to hear what some of your thoughts are on this. I want to hear what some of you guys think about this. Last thing I want to finish with is, even if you're having a hard time implementing this and doing this for days and days on end, just try to do it with the beginning portion of your day at first. Just try to have it be like you got through the first half of your day having 100 to 150 grams of protein with hardly any fat. Like on the scoreboard of life, it was a blowout. It was like 110 to 20. You blew them out on the scoreboard of life. So give that a try. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.